Good morning, everybody. How are you? So good to see you. Happy Sunday. So grateful that we get to spend some more time together. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that your families are doing well. And I'm just really happy that it's Sunday. It's a beautiful day out. I got my Sunday soup cooking. I can smell it in my kitchen, and I get to spend some time with you guys today. And then maybe get to eat some lunch after this. So it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day of learning and spending some time with each other, spending some time with our regulars and people who attend, spending time with our new friends and new people that join, and also spending some time with the people who only come on Sundays. In a way, I take that as a massive compliment. That some people come only on Sundays. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we're going to see where we end up today. I think today is going to be an interesting session. I think most of you know, but just in case we do have new people in the chat, on Sundays, we tend to do a little bit of a longer tutorial, more of a series based, definitely more instructional than some of my other content, but it's a good way to mix it up. I like how Casual Economist is putting it already. Sunday school is in session. Yeah, something like that, right? But really appreciate the consistency that all of you are displaying in terms of wanting to show up and contribute and be a part of the community here. So really appreciate that out of all of you. But yeah, I'm just really excited that we get to continue talking about creating a data science project from the ground up. So, again, for those of you that are new, maybe people have just been kind of sitting on the sidelines or whatnot. Everybody thinks that putting together a data science project means, oh, well, that means I gotta get into Python and I gotta learn some libraries. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Well, there's a lot to a project, right? So hopefully through this series, all of you have been able to see all the different components that are just to, get a project off the ground, right? Today is going to be the first time where we're really going to be doing like more like what people traditionally think of as project work. So I think it's going to be fun because of that today. So I think it'll be a good day. It's going to be a good day. So yeah, if you're joining us in the chat, please let us know where you're from. We always encourage people to just say hello. Easy way to participate. Easy way for the chat to feel inclusive. And I'm gonna jump ahead here. Am I seeing this right? Today is also Leo's birthday. Happy to be here celebrating with my brothers and sisters. Oh, happy birthday, man! You didn't tell us that. Happy birthday to Leo, guys. Let's put some emojis in the chat there for Leo. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Leo. Didn't know that, so congratulations. While people are sending their congratulations, I'm going to put the link in Instagram. For those of you that are on Instagram, if you want to join us over on YouTube, the format is a little easier to see because of the widescreen. So let me quickly put that up. All right, let me go back to that. Yeah, look at all those congratulations for Manoj. Come on, guys, let's give it up for Leo. Leo's one of my great moderators, right? And it's his birthday, so we should all be wishing him a happy birthday. 34 today. Wow, good for you, Leo. It's always good to see the different ages, in the chat. My demographics say that most people are 34 and under, but I know that we have a variety of people in my in attendance from different countries and all that. So really happy to see everybody. But yeah, Leo, congratulations. Maybe you'll go out to dinner or something out there in New York. There's so many good restaurants in New York for special occasions. All right, so let me go back to the top here. So Leo with Let's Go. I love Leo's enthusiasm on a Sunday morning. Sarvesh here from Mumbai. So good to see you, Sarvesh. Hope you're well out there in Mumbai. Fatima, our friend from Meekness, says hello. Hey, Fatima, hope you're doing well. Osama, from also from Morocco, says hello, sir. Hope your day is going well. It's going very well, thanks. You know, I got my soup cooking. I'm gonna have some food after this. Gonna watch a movie to relax or just do other things. You know, maybe call some family later. But yeah, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day. Leo is claiming Alabama today. Okay, that's a different one. Maybe you want to give us the background on that one, Leo. Manoj from Bangalore. Manoj, so good to see you as always. Casual Economist from the great state of Minnesota. School is in session. It is. It is. But you know what? Today, it's not just me talking. Today, it's going to be audience participation. So yeah, it's all of us are in session today. Rex from New York, another great moderator. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday to you too, Rex. Hope you're doing well out there. Is it Jamil? Jamil, I think this might be your first time. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate the introduction. Hello, watching from Pakistan. Very cool. Quite a few viewers from Pakistan. I'm big in Morocco and I'm big in Pakistan, guys. Well, welcome, Jamil. Glad to see you here. So Leo's 34. So that means Leo and I are the old people in the group. Thanks everybody for contributing to Leo's good wishes. Always nice for us to be able to come together and celebrate something like that. So happy birthday to you, Leo. Yeah, I wish you would have told us before. We would have got you a cake or something. Yeah, but so glad you guys are here. For anybody else that's joining us late, please let me know. Let us know where you're from. You know, just say hello. If you just want to sit on the sidelines, that's okay too. You know, we get a lot of people who just listen in. That's okay. But we do encourage people to participate, make the chat inclusive. Reese says, good evening from South Africa. Good evening to you too, Reese. Reese, I'm pretty sure you've been here before. In fact, I think you go by another name, right? I don't think your name is actually Reese. I think you gave us another name. But yeah, good to see you here. We have quite a few people from South Africa watching also. All right, anybody else have any opening thoughts or anything else they want to put out there? Any other birthdays or personal celebrations we should know about? Lois, welcome back. Good morning or afternoon. Glad to be back again, and happy birthday to Leo. Good to see you, Lois. Thank you so much for coming back. It's really encouraging to me when I see people coming back. And yeah, we should all be sending Leo good wishes. A birthday's a very special thing. Yeah, Ashley, that's right. Was here last week for the first. Okay, cool. Yeah. Welcome back. We have a lot of people who just like the Sunday sessions. You know, they just like attending for the Sunday tutorial, the deeper understanding. So welcome, Ashley. Hope you're doing well. Lulu says hi from, is that Nigeria? I think. Right? I think that's Nigeria. But Lulu, I think it's your first time, so thanks so much for introducing yourself. Appreciate you having you here. Lulu, I see that you're on Instagram. You'll also find in the pinned comments on Instagram a link to my YouTube where we're doing the same session. It's just a little wider so you can see the materials a little better, but it's up to you what platform you want to stay on. But most people find it a little bit more convenient to watch on YouTube. But thanks for being here, Lulu. So Leo says thank you. Yeah, you're welcome, Leo. And we are kind of like a family here, so I'm glad that we can share those birthdays and things like that with each other. So thanks, everybody. All right, anybody else just want to get started? You know, I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot of back and forth today. Okay, I'm gonna encourage all of us to participate today. You know, and you guys, and not that you guys are shy. You know, you guys do a great job of participating. But today, it's going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting time for all of us, okay? So anybody else with any final introductions? Anybody who joined us late? Anybody want to put out anything else out there? Anything special going on? You know, for me, I'm just trying to keep on going with these sessions. Pretty soon I'll finish out the 100 days of streaming that I wanted to do. So I'm gonna, take a second look at the schedule. Maybe I'll continue daily, maybe do something a little bit more focused. I have a lot of videos I still want to record and get out. But yeah, lots of good stuff coming up. Anand, welcome. Anand says first time here. Hi Dennis, this is Anand from Dallas, Texas area. Nice. Which part, Anand? I lived in Dallas for 2 years. I'm always curious when people tell me Dallas, because Dallas is so big. For those of you who don't know, it's a pretty large metropolitan area. So let me know what part, Anand. I used to live in the Las Colinas area for a couple of years, right next to the Toyota Music Factory. Lulu says from Nigeria. Okay, cool. Welcome, Lulu. We have quite a few viewers from Nigeria. Okay, Anand is from the colony. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know that area. Out past Grapevine and all that. Yeah, but nice area out there. I lived in Las Colinas for several years. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, Las Colinas is, for those of you who don't know, is a very popular, very, in my opinion, it was like a very nice, very clean part of Dallas. Lots of tech companies there, lots of, international companies there. Microsoft, AT&T, Home Depot, CVS, Expedia, IBM, tons of companies out in Las Colinas. So if you're a tech person in Dallas, you probably know Las Colinas. So cool, and welcome. We're really glad to have you here. All right, let's get started, right? So let me switch over to my classroom view. Okay, so this is the third installment now of our time together working on creating a data science project from the ground up. So we focused a lot on things that may not really seem like they're part of data science, but they're definitely part of a project, right? And that's ultimately what we're trying to learn, right? We're trying to learn how a project comes together, how to manage a project, but not all of us are managers. So even if we're not, how do we work within the requirements or the confines of a project from a perspective of, well, how do I help my team best, right? So we've talked about a variety of things as far as how our project comes together, your role when you're, like an analyst or a data scientist, when you're trying to put things together, right? So we're going to continue with that. But now we are going to be kind of a little bit more focused on the teamwork, the data science teamwork of it, right? Because right now we've kind of been like client and project focused, and that's okay. But now it's actually time for us as a team, as a data science team, to come together and start delivering, right? Because let's review here, right? We've defined this project, right? This fictional project as we have a contract in place, right? We have a client. And what we're going to do is we're going to do alpha farming for a financial firm, right? We've won a contract with a private equity firm, a hedge fund, however you prefer to look at it. And they've said, hey, we think that there's alpha farming opportunities with data science. We just don't have the skills. We're going to, you're going to be our data science team for that, right? So we talked about how a statement of work comes together. We have a statement of work with the client. Last week, we talked about agile planning, right? What is it? How does it come together? What are some of the things we need to know? And like I said, I don't even want to begin to pretend that I taught all of you agile from beginning to end in a single session. That's completely unrealistic. But we did talk about stories and tasks, right? So let's have a quick review, right? So this is your first chance for participation. So can somebody remember what the format was for stories? Remember, stories are fairly prescriptive, right? There's kind of like a plan for stories or a reason why you have stories, right? So what do you think? Does anybody remember the format for stories? Go ahead and put it in the chat. And if you're too shy, you can always just say, "Oh, I agree with this person. I agree with that." Right? Nobody's gonna call on you. But let's see. What is the format for stories? Khalif, our good friend, is back. Khalif, good day to you too. Hope you're doing well, Khalif. Hey Leo, let's cut some cake. Yeah, we should have we should have brought some cake or something for Leo. Although I can't have any right now. I'm on 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 everything. I'm all meat and vegetables right now, so I wouldn't be able to join you, but it's the thought that counts. Okay, so Osama is volunteering as blank. I want blank. Okay, okay. Anybody else? What's the format for stories? Go ahead and put it in the chat as you remember it. Or you can just also just choose to agree with Osama if you want to. So Leo is saying, I want blank so I can blank. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Leo, I feel like your answer is a good addition to Osama's answer, right? Because I think Osama might have been missing that last part that you added. So Anon says a story is a user's journey through the system for a specific use case. So Anand, in this scenario, we're talking about stories for agile planning, not necessarily stories for user experience, which I think is a little bit closer to the definition that you're talking about. Okay, so Leo is agreeing with Lewis, and Lewis is proposing as a blank, I want to blank so that I can blank. Yeah. Manoj is also agreeing with Lewis. Yeah, so I think that we can form consensus around Lewis, right? And that's what I have here on this slide, right? I'm trying to impress this upon you and do this little review here, because writing stories is a very important part of how you, as a new person, right? It's your first couple of years in the business. You're not quite ready for project management, but obviously you still want to be a team player. Knowing how to write your own stories is really important, right? And it's a super, I don't want to say easy, but it's a totally reasonable way for you guys to contribute, right? Take that weight off your boss and say, hey, no worries. I know how to write my own stories. Let me do the first draft and then you can correct me, right? So that's why I wanted to do this review, because knowing this format and keeping within it, super important. And what we're going to do today is, I know last week we did some practice and, I think we were really refining it and we were really improving towards the end. I think you guys were really getting it. So we're going to keep on doing it today, but this time we're going to come up with what we want to do, and then I'll show you how I would have written that story. So we're going to do it a little bit backwards, definitely not how you want to do it in the real world, but it'll help you to understand and say, oh yeah, okay, that's how I would write a story. When I really wanted to do this, the story should really kind of look like this, right? So we're going to keep on doing that just to kind of reinforce what we learned last week, okay? So Khalif is saying agree with Lewis. Yeah, I think most people are okay, are consensus around Lewis's answer. I think Lewis gave a great answer. Ashley says, who does what in what capacity must be done in a sprint? Yeah, Ashley, I like the way you put that. The who does what, yeah, because you have to define the role, and in what capacity, yep. So Ashley, the only thing I would add there is for what benefit, right? A lot of people forget that last part, that so that blank. You want to include the so that because that's where the benefit is, right? So you're right, Ashley. Who does it in what capacity? Well, excuse me. What are we doing in what capacity and why? What's the benefit for it, right? And then, yeah, great addition. Must be done in a sprint. Remember, that's one of the things I mentioned to everyone last time. There's very few, set in stone rules for Agile. It's intended to be flexible. It's intended to be flexible for any need, any technology, any industry that you have. But one of the rules is that a story has to be able to be done in a sprint. And that's not really like a punishment type of rule. It's more about trying to prevent these big stories that try to accomplish too much or are really a combination of multiple things, right? Because the rule is that if it can't be done in a sprint, then you have to break it up. So it kind of forces you to take another look at the stories and say, did I really do the best job I could here? Maybe I need to refine it a little bit, right? So I like Ashley's mention of that because it is one of the, one of the few really hard rules that exist in Agile. Okay. Michael, our friend from Nigeria. Nice to see you. Happy Sunday, Sir Dennis and everyone. Happy Sunday to you too, Michael. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate you. And look at Khalif. Khalif's playing host there, welcoming people. Thanks, Khalif. So, yeah, guys. So I wanted to make sure we do that review, right? So we know what stories are, and then what are tasks? Is there a set definition or a set requirement for how tasks are written? Or can you freeform tasks? What do you guys think? Anything special about tasks or if you want to give me a little elevator pitch on what tasks are, put them in the chat. Let's make sure we got that down. Because we probably won't be writing too many tasks today. We'll probably be more talking about them, but we'll definitely be doing writing of stories. So give me your elevator pitch, your definition on tasks, please. All right, so Lois is offering up tasks are the individual work components that are required to complete each story of a sprint. Okay, cool. Is there a format for them, Lois? Or anybody else? Is there a defined format for them? Anybody out there want to take that on? Rohit, welcome. I can't remember if you've been here before or not, Rohit, but welcome. Rohit says a task is a smallest component of a process. Yeah, it can be, sure. You can definitely break it down as much as you want. Yeah. Not a strict requirement per se, but yeah, you can break them down, sure. Anybody else? Last call for answers. All right, looks like they agree with Lewis from Manoj. Okay. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you guys are on the right track. The tasks are basically like the traditional things that you would think about when you start your workday, right? You know, you show up, you have a story that you want to work on, and then you think, okay, well, first I got to do this, and then I got to call this person, and then I got to do this, right? That's basically what tasks are. A task is a specific actionable unit of work that needs to be completed as part of a larger project or goal. Um, yeah, Osama, you're on the right track there, but in this case, we're talking about tasks specifically for Agile. And Agile would say that it's the work that needs to be completed for a particular story. So projects don't have tasks, but stories definitely have tasks. So that's why you want to break them down. But it's really more about thinking, like I said, you know, you show up to work one day, you say, okay, I committed to delivering this one story. And in order to do that, I need to do these technical things or these, I need to hold these meetings. I need to talk to this person, whatever. Those are basically the tasks. And the key there is also that tasks do not have any set format. That is where you start to do your free form type of description, right? Stories are very structured, and sometimes people can get a little bogged down in them and say, well, when do I actually get to talk about what I'm going to do? Well, that's where the tasks are, right? So that's why I'm emphasizing this, because I've seen that happen where people they can't understand stories because they always want to rush to say what they're going to do, where, you know, they're really focusing on tasks when you should be focusing on stories, you know, assuming your team works in an agile environment, right? Which it's going to happen to you at some point in your career. Okay. But that's the key to remember there, right? That tasks have to belong to a story. They help you complete that story, and there's no set format. Just write them however you feel best. All right? Okay. So this leaves us with the obvious question of what's next? Like, what are we going to do next? So give me some feedback. What do you guys think is next? Where are we going from here? Anybody want to take a guess? Remember, we're a data science team. We're trying to follow a methodology, right? We know the goal that the client wants to achieve, the alpha farming, right? So what's next? Don't give me don't define what's next. Give me the meta view, right? What's the next step, or what's the next phase all of us should be walking into? What do you guys think? Let me know. And give you guys a minute to think about that. Lalman, good to see you again, my friend. Hey, good evening, morning, Dennis. It's morning for me. It's early morning for me. I've been up for a while. I've been up since like 3 a.m. But yeah, it's early. It's beautiful out. So hope you're doing well, Lalman. Thanks for coming. So Lalman, the question in front of the chat right now is: we have a contract in place. We've done our agile planning. What's the next step? What is the next phase that we as a team, as the data science team, are going into in order to fulfill this contract, fulfill this project? What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. All right, so Lalman's throwing out gather requirements. Okay. Manoj is saying ideation, maybe. Okay. By the way, guys, like I said, if you're shy, no problem. You can just say, I agree with Manoj. I agree with Lalman. I think this, you know. No one's calling on you. We keep an open environment, right? So we got requirements gathering. We've got ideation. Anybody else? Leo says gathering sounds coherent. Okay. All right. So it sounds like we got two people for gathering requirements. Marcine, welcome. I can't remember if this is your first time or not, but welcome. Data collection. Okay. Marcine is proposing data collection. All right. Excuse me. Sorry. Anybody else? Manoj is proposing data mining. Fatima says each member of the team must take on a task they will work on. Okay, cool. I like that. Now, Manoj, you've actually suggested two things. Hold that thought, Manoj. I'm tempted to say, oh, well, you can only pick one, right? But, just as a hint, chat, I don't think Manoj is wrong. I don't think Manoj is wrong to have two items. So Manoj has suggested ideation and data mining, okay? And really, I don't think anybody is blatantly wrong so far, right? I mean, we have ideation, requirements gathering. Each member must take on a story that they will work on, right? Data collection by Marcine. I meant gathering what is necessary to execute the proposed tasks from Leo. Okay. Yeah, okay. Last call for answers. But, really, I think in a funny way, all of these are on the right track, right? So, anybody else? Last call for answers? Sam, our friend from Bangkok. How are you, Sam? I'm glad you're here. Empowering the team members with a roadmap. Okay. Okay, like a methodology. Yeah. Leo says we're all wrong equally. No. No. Leo, just hold that thought. Because we are going to get to this, right? We are going to get to this. So Khalif is saying categorize stories into epics. Okay. Yeah, I like that one. Marcine says it must be some preparation. Yeah, sure. Iceland Calling. That's a great name. Enjoying the conversation. Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome to let us know where you're from. I'm pretty sure it's your first time here, but you're also welcome to participate, give an answer, or just hang back. It's up to you. No pressure. Just glad to see a new face around. Sam says apologies for not greeting her. Don't worry about it, Sam. Sundays we try to keep it a little bit different, right? Because it's more instructional. Sometimes people introduce themselves, other times they don't. But good to see you, Sam. Hope you're doing well out there in Bangkok. All right, so Mickey on Twitch. Mickey, I think you've been with us before, so happy Sunday to you too. Hope you're doing well out there. Yeah, Leo says equally wrong. Yeah, guys, I hope I'm not giving you the impression that I'm saying you're wrong. Here, this is why I'm saying this. Because remember what I've always said, right? When we're stuck, always refer back to the scientific process, always refer back to a methodology that you're following, right? That's what ultimately we do as scientists, right? Scientists follow a methodology. So that's what I have up on the screen. And you can find this in my book. This is a chart that's in my book, in your first year in data science. And this is a methodology that I usually follow with my teams. Now, it doesn't have to be a hard and fast methodology because, data science projects are unique. But generally speaking, our next steps should come from here, right? I'm sorry, guys, real quick. Achul, I think it's pronounced Achul from Ireland. Welcome, Achul. It's first time here. Glad to see you. Participate as much as you'd like. Glad you're here. So really right now, my eye and all of us should be focused on these top 4 items here. And obviously there is some order and correlation to how we should go through these as far as a like a workflow. But there's nothing wrong with having an ideation session, right? There's nothing wrong with looking ahead to data collection and start planning those pipelines. Some of these can run in parallel, right? As Fatima pointed out, maybe we need to split things among the team. Maybe half the team starts looking at pipelines, the other half goes into an ideation session, right? So that's really what I meant. That there was a variety of different answers, and they're all perfectly acceptable, vis-a-vis this methodology, right? Or who was it? I think it was it Osama? Somebody suggested, it was Khalif, excuse me. Maybe we needed more agile planning, talk about how the epics come into play. And that's a valid suggestion too. Now, we're not focusing on that because, as I mentioned before, I think in most scenarios when you're first starting out in data science, the epics and tests, like everything above stories, will be handled by your managers. That's basically like a manager duty, right? So that's why we're not focused on that. But that's not necessarily a wrong answer, right? Your managers might be doing that in parallel while they ask you to build out the pipelines or to start, hey, I the manager, am going to work on some epics stuff today. But I want to meet with you, my data scientist, in 2 days, and I want to hear 5 different ideas from you in 2 days, right? Like that could be a common breakout. So really none of the answers are wrong. It's just, making sure that you go back to a methodology. Make sure that you're following some sort of steps, right? Afsal says, sorry, just joined. No need to be sorry. You can join anytime. We tend to go long on Sundays, so people will come and go. So thanks for joining. I'm glad to see you here. If you want to switch over to YouTube to see the whole screen, you're welcome to do that too. Manoj says methodology. Yep. Very important, Manoj. Very important. Thanks for playing host over there, Leo. Pro Ultimate 7, welcome. Glad to see you here. Hope you're doing well. I think it's your first time, so welcome. So I think everybody gave valid answers. Now, there is one that I do want to talk about because a couple of you did mention requirements gathering. And I can completely see why you would do that, because in other methodologies like the software development lifecycle, the SDLC, that is very, very common to be the next step, right? You do the requirements gathering where you sit down and say, okay, well, what does this application do? What do the screens look like? How many screens are there? What are the use cases? What's the user experience? Totally standard if you have that like DevOps background or some sort of other like development background, right? The SDLC, almost always kicks off with that type of requirements thing. But here's the thing, right? With data science, that's not always a great parallel. And that's because, remember, we're talking about stuff that's still, by and large, cutting edge to most companies, to most situations you're going to be in. So when we have a contract like this, or like a project definition of, hey, this client wants us to do some alpha farming for them, that, from a technical perspective and like a requirements gathering perspective, that's really as far as they can go with it. there's, you're going to find yourself in a lot of scenarios where it's really not beneficial to sit down with them more because they just won't know any better, right? They can't tell you like what the screen should look like and what the user experience should. Sometimes you don't even have a UI, right? Sometimes you're just improving like a back end process, or you know when I talk a lot with my clients, I'm always talking about what we refer to as the art of the possible, right? Like, they literally don't know what's possible, so they can't give you the requirements. It's actually on us, the data science team, to say, hey, and by the way, did you know that we could also use this technique with your set of data to do this, this, and this? Like, they won't even know that, right? So that's why requirements gathering kind of becomes a little bit of a I almost want to say like a not needed phase, because it's just not very beneficial. We as the data science team are so much more knowledgeable on the technologies, right? And the techniques available, that we kind of take it upon ourselves to do it. So I totally understand why some of you would bring that up, but sometimes that's all you're going to get from the client. Hey, we hear that algorithms are powerful for alpha farming. Build us something. Like, what that is, we don't know. Just go build it, right? Like I'm not saying that in a flippant way. Like, that will literally be like the instructions from the client. Like, I've been in those situations, like, or somebody, a director inside the company will tell you, hey, come back to me in a month and tell me what NLP can do with my data. Like, that's it. Like, that's all they know, right? So I hear you. Requirements gathering is common in other software efforts, but not data science. Like, there's such an imbalance there in the knowledge, right? Maybe that will change over time, and I'm talking like like decades, like 10, 15 years from now, as business stakeholders become more knowledgeable about what it can do and tools become a little more streamlined. But it's on us, right? And that's really one of the points of the ideation section, right? Where we're going to have to sit down as a data science team and say, okay, well, what do we think? And then we take that and then we present that back to the client, because again, they don't know any better, right? So moving to the next slide here, that's basically what I'd like to focus on today, right? With an asterisk. There's an asterisk on the end of that statement. So it's time for us to get into the data science team room. This is where we close the doors, and this is where we just talk things out, right? We toss things around. No idea is a bad idea, right? We have to respect each other's thoughts and respect each other's openness to think. And it's okay to challenge each other, right? It's okay to say, hey, that's an interesting statement. What made you say that? What's your rationale for that? It's also okay to say, oh, hey, you're describing like a neural network that I'm not familiar with. I want to help, but I don't want to be the lead on it, right? Because I'm not knowledgeable enough or whatever, right? In some cases, I might ask you questions in order to bring out that rationale. Doesn't mean I disagree with you. I'm just challenging with you as a way to bring out that reasoning, right? And to understand your perspective, right? Another thing, and I should have included this under no idea is a bad idea. I just realized that. So another thing I do in these conversations, and this is me talking as a data leader, right? So one of the things that I do is whenever I have these types of ideation meetings, to show you that I'm serious about, open thought, no idea is a bad idea, no statement is stupid. One, nobody above me attends that meeting. So my boss, in other words, your boss's boss, does not attend the meeting, right? I do that explicitly because that way people can talk freely and not feel embarrassed and not feel stupid, right? And two, We also agree that nothing goes outside of the ideation discussion, right? So you can't say, oh, so-and-so said something so dumb in that meeting last week or whatever, right? Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to kill the openness of thought. We don't want to kill somebody saying, oh, well, I shouldn't say that idea because people think that idea sounds dumb, right? So I'm giving you guys this background because it's really important to understand, one, how freely you should be talking, right? Because you can't have innovative ideas unless people say some crazy things every once in a while, right? And two, it's also a professional level of respect that we have to give each other as scientists, right? Because this is a scientific profession, right? So we have to respect each other as professionals when you go through these types of ideation meetings. Okay. And then the last bullet point, some ideas might need scoping before a decision is made. And those are times when you might also have to develop code for this. And that comes back to maybe some of the data collection side. Or maybe we need to do some data collection and some EDA, right? Maybe the client gives you some initial data. Or, maybe like for somebody like a private equity, they have access to a lot of reports or private financial feeds. So maybe they give you access to a financial feed that we've never seen before because that's, it was like a private subscription or something, right? So there are times where you might come up with an idea and say, hey, I bet we can do this. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe we should take the next 3-4 days to figure out if that's a valid data pipeline and what it would take to fill that pipeline and do some basic EDA, right? So that's why I said that there's an asterisk on that statement, because we can talk things out, but sometimes you have to delay a decision and say, okay, to Fatima's point earlier about splitting up the work, you might say, okay, yeah, we have 4 great ideas, but 2 of them, we need to invest 3 days in people figuring out if that's actually a viable option or not, right? So that happens too. So speaking to the last point on here, just because it's an ideation phase doesn't mean we won't be writing code or we'll just be talking. We will have to explore some things out. It's just a matter of talking it through and saying, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but let's do a little bit of research. Let's do a little bit of due diligence, right? So that's really the point of the phase that I'd like to focus on for today, right? And that's really what I'd like to do for, however long we want to do it for the next, while we're together for this session. So that's the setup. This is us. We're a unified data science team, right? I'm playing the role of chief data scientist. All of you in the chat are the staff scientists. And I'm asking you guys, okay, guys, we met with this company. We won a contract. We want to do some alpha farming, right? Right now, I'm open to ideas. We're opening the discussion to people who want to come up with different ideas for how we can achieve this, right? And sometimes when I kick off this meeting, I might give you additional guidance, right? So the additional guidance that I will give to you, because I know some people maybe didn't attend the first session, is that when we're talking about alpha farming, when we're talking about private equity or hedge funds, those firms, those efforts can basically look to invest in a large number of things, right? They can invest in a lot of different stocks or commodities or really whatever they want, right? So that's really kind of like the only guidance I would give at this point, where try not to focus on one item, because the benefit is more about the unlimited width of investments that companies like these can make, right? So keep that in mind. But let's start putting some ideas in the chat. Let's hear them. What do you guys think? How are we going to fulfill this alpha farming, right? And we're going to talk. We're going to talk things back and forth. If you see something in the chat that you want to comment on, go ahead, right? We're promising each other to be professionals, to not take things personally, to not attack people. But let's start hearing some ideas, right? Would love to hear them, guys. Start typing away. Okay. So Manoj, thank you for stepping up. Manoj is volunteering efficient frontier technique. Okay. Manoj, if you'd like, would you like to give us the elevator pitch on that? What does the efficient frontier technique mean to you? And if you want to give us an example of how it could relate to this project, I'd appreciate it. What do you think? And remember, guys, there's no bad answers, right? It all stays within the team room, right? But, that might be something where I ask. I'm asking, not just for my benefit, but for the benefit of everybody else on the team, right? Or maybe it's like a groundbreaking white paper or something else. But while Manoj thinks about that, does anybody else want to throw out any other ideas for what we can do? And meanwhile, I promised us to keep track of stories, right? Because that way you can kind of see how things come up, right? So this is me writing my own story for exactly what we're doing now. Okay, so Leo says, identify what assets show better performance on the last portal. I'm sorry, Leo, but on the last quartile of what measure? Like against the industry or against a basket of goods or something? Help me understand that one, Leo. I'm sorry if I'm being dense on that one. Okay, so Manoj about efficient frontier technique says it gives the rate of return. It gives the return rate of individual stocks or commodities. Okay. So Manoj, I'm interested in this. What is this like a? Is this like a neural network? Is this a lazy loading algorithm? Give me more definition on it. So Fatima is saying develop machine learning models that can identify profitable trading opportunities, analyze market trends, and adapt strategies in real time. Uh, yeah, I love that high level description, Fatima. But give me the next level down, right? Like give me an actionable idea for a model, right? Like I appreciate Manoj's suggestions, right? Because he it sounds like he actually has a model in mind already, right? Which is great, right? We need that. So Fatima, you're like one level above that, right? Give me the next level down where you actually name an approach or something else, right? Yeah, Leo, actually maybe same comment to you too, Leo. Like did you have like an individual algorithm in mind or like a technique in mind? Manoj says by using Monte Carlo simulations. Okay. Okay. Um so all right, Manoj, I can imagine what some of the inputs would be for something like that. But give me an idea of what inputs you would like to see in that. Because I kind of want to calibrate to your thoughts, right? Because when you're saying it's Monte Carlo based, to do the individual rate of return, there could be a million types of inputs. So I want to make sure I'm matching your vision. So let me know about that. Profile our data to further understand our data in relation to our goal. Yeah. We're getting there, right? And I'm sorry, I can't remember your name was Achul. We're getting there, Achul, right? Because if I'm asking Manoj for the inputs, now we're starting to think about what our data looks like, right? And when you're talking about profiling our data, you're talking more about an exploratory data analysis phase, right? An EDA phase. And that's okay. We need that, right? It's on this same level. So we're approaching that. But I think we have to toss around ideas, right? We have to toss around ideas to further define the data we're actually going to need, right? But you're on the right track, Achul. So Leo says a statistical model have a better visualization of the problem and what we're trying to find and leverage. Okay. Did you have a particular model in mind, Leo? Mohammed says, are we going to do modular code or notebook coding, and are we doing it end to end? We're definitely going to do it end to end, and we do not use notebooks, right? So we'll start emphasizing that more and more as we get through this. But professional data science is not done in notebooks. We are going to be doing it with just an IDE and a terminal window, and that's it. Mickey. So right now we are just tossing around ideas, right? We're tossing around ideas for what model or what approach we can use to fulfill the client's need for alpha farming, right? We've been asked by a client to apply data science techniques to be able to find stocks or other investments with extraordinary returns, right? That's basically what we're trying to do. Leo says, I might be a bit off the question. I'm sorry. No need to apologize, guys. And no need to apologize. And again, sometimes I'm pushing back on you just to, draw more out, right? But definitely no need to apologize, right? That's not really the point here. But we should be looking for specific techniques, right? We should be looking for specific things to explore. Like, I'm really appreciating Manoj's efforts because he obviously has something in mind already, right? So, we're going to keep on pulling on that thread, right? You've already seen me ask him, okay, well, why don't you define that for us? What is it based on? It's based on Monte Carlo. Okay, what inputs do you need for that? And that's how we're kind of building out the discussion, right? Mickey says, is there already specific data that we would be using? See, that's a great question, Mickey. And you can certainly start that way, right? But you can also start by ideating through and saying, hey, if we did this, I bet that would be really cool. Okay, so now you go out and seek that data instead of the other way around. Because otherwise you can be limited by the data, right? The data itself becomes blinders because nobody thinks to say, well, wait a minute, is this the right data, right? So that's why I'd rather prefer us just to kind of talk things through, right? So I hope you see where we're going with that, Mickey. Definitely we could start off data, but why not just talk about the ideas, right? Fatima says, collect historical price data, trading volume, and other relevant indicators. Yeah, okay. Minosha's data off portfolio. Data off multiple asset portfolios, maybe. But give me some examples though, Manoj. Give me some like concrete examples. Like give me like 3 inputs that we would need. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna need a lot more of them, but just, just 3 initial inputs. So Michael says, I think we should identify financial data sets required, historical prices, volume, sentiment data, etc. Use APIs from exchanges, financial data vendors, or proprietary sources. Yeah, I get that, Michael, but it can become blinding, right? Isn't it better to figure out what would be a really good approach and then go seek the data, right? Mohammed says, where can we get a real world data set to do a project? I got an interview call, but they rejected it because they wanted real world project experience with MLOps. Well, Muhammad, I'm glad that you're doing a job search, but that's not really the goal of today. The goal of Sunday sessions, and really all of my sessions, is to empower us with more knowledge and more professional skills, right? So we're not seeking to pass interviews per se. We're seeking to take a professional approach to data science. So right now, we're still following a methodology. And we're still following, kind of like this client path that we're on in terms of fulfilling, what they've asked of us, okay? All right, so Mickey seems like he's on board with us just talking things out. Conduct EDA on performance of assets. We're going to get to that, Lalman. Yeah, and we've done that, right? We've done that with like the gold data that we looked at, right? But yeah, EDA is definitely part of the methodology for sure. So Leo says, what about conducting an inference study before everything? Okay. Okay. Conduct literature review on past research. Lalman, okay. Lalman, you'll have to forgive me if my memory is off here, but I know that in one of my daily chats, we recently had a discussion about education in other countries and about how other countries were very academic. I think that you were part of that discussion, right? And if I'm wrong on that, please let me know. I'm happy to be wrong, and I apologize. But this is an answer I would expect from an academic, right? To do a literature review. So that's why it reminded me of you. I think you were part of that discussion. Okay, so Manoj is saying that his model requires the stock prices of portfolios. Okay. Manoj, we're going to come back to that. Okay. Put a pin in that one, Manoj, and if I forget, remind me, okay? But I want to come back to that. Mohammed says, are we doing statistical tests for each column? We will. Once we define the data set, but we don't know what data we're looking for yet, right? Right now, it's still an open field, guys. We can talk about anything, right? Marcine says, let's put everything on the table to see what we got, things where we want to go from there. Yeah, absolutely, Marcine. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, no idea is too crazy, right? No idea is too crazy. I don't know why, but the idea of having a general view on the problem and what we can improve sounds realistic to me. But we have that, Leo, right? The client wants us to do alpha farming. One, that's all they know. And two, what techniques are used is up to us, right? So I can understand why this phase is a little bit abstract, and maybe it's a little bit harder for to define the exact models. But hang in there with me, Leo, because part of my role as the chief data scientist also, is that I guide the discussion, right? I try, I want everybody to be open and free, but I also try to keep us within some parameters, right? And we'll get to that, Leo. Give me a minute here to look at Fatima's answer. Create a system that scrapes financial news and media to gauge market sentiment. Okay, cool. So Fatima is giving us our second approach here, right? Manoj has a Monte Carlo approach in mind, and Fatima is giving us our second one. Create a system that scrapes financial news to gauge market sentiment, right? So that's an NLP, like sentiment-based type of model. All right. I think that's a pretty good second idea, right? Michael says, clarify what the hedge fund aims to achieve with this alpha farming algorithm. Are they looking for long-term alpha, short-term gains, or hedging strategies? Michael, yeah, great suggestions. I'm not sure if we need to get down into those types of financial weeds, because you're right, there is different motivations for seeking alpha. But let's put a pause on that discussion for now, because at core, this is still a data science effort, right? Not necessarily like I don't want to necessarily teach financial strategies via this, right? So I appreciate the comment, though. It's a good thought. Manoj says, agree with Fatima. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you guys want to just say, hey, I agree with Manoj, I agree with Fatima, I agree with both of them, that's totally cool. Afsal, I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome to the chat. Afsal, right now we're having an open discussion on the different items that we can do to fulfill our project of an alpha farming algorithm. Okay, so thanks for being here. So FitHouse says, once we build the model, we can apply some supervised learning techniques like random forests or neural networks to predict future stock performance based on historical features. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that as a text definition, but how exactly are we going to do that? Like, we would need to do a little bit more of a defined model there, FitHouse. Michael says, I agree with Fatima. Manoj says, what about the Black-Scholes model approach? Okay, that's another one. All right, so let me go back to Leo's thought, because Leo is sharing a thought that I think multiple people might also have, right? So just to guide us a little bit more, why don't we start thinking about the techniques that we know? Okay, let's take a step back. In data science, I like to think of ourselves as building a toolbox, right? Every time you learn something new, you're just, in your mind, you carry a toolbox, right? And every time you learn something new, you just throw a new tool in your toolbox. Okay, I know how to do this. Okay, I know how to do that, right? That's all we're doing, right? So we're talking about assets, we're talking about pricing, and I'm trying to think about like different tools that we might have in our toolbox. What about time series? Isn't time series a tool in our toolbox? I know you guys know time series, right? But that hasn't really been mentioned so far, right? What about time series analysis? Right? Does anybody want to propose a time series analysis approach? Maybe. For some of you who have been watching me for a while, and I know there's a lot of regulars in here, haven't we looked at time series before? Didn't I do like a whole tutorial on time series? I even showed you guys a library for it, right? Time series has become very, very easy now. Easy and powerful, right? But what about time series, right? So Leo, to your point, because you're an active student. I know you look at this stuff, right? You know time series. So, maybe you think of it that way, right? Don't necessarily get bogged down in like, stocks and hedging strategies and all this. What do you know? Like, what is the tool in your toolbox, right? Leo just given a great suggestion. Hey, we could do time series. But guys, this is what I mean, right? Just think about your toolbox, right? What have I learned? Is this tool appropriate here? I've shared this before, but on my very first day in my very first course in applied statistics, grad level, I'll just never forget it. The professor said that. She said, hey, look, the whole purpose of this class is I'm going to teach you all these tools, and 90% of what we do is just figuring out what tool fits the problem that's in front of you. And that's what we're doing right now, right? Hey, time series. Time series fits pricing data really well. And there's a ton of historical stock data, right? So Manoj is just throwing out forecasting. Yeah, right? Forecasting time series, I know that the academics say that's different, but that's stupid. They're the same, right? Yeah, ARIMA techniques. Okay, see, Osama, if you know ARIMA, then that's what you should be suggesting, right? Hey, Dennis, I bet there's a lot of historical stock data. Why don't we apply some ARIMA techniques to it and see if we can do some forecasting? Like in this type of meeting, that's exactly like the type of discussion we want to throw back and forth, right? So think of it that way, right? Afsal is saying, is this what high frequency traders do? No, that's a whole other discussion. But these types of meetings and ideation and free thinking is what led to high frequency trading, right? Because that's what these funds do. They will sit there and they will talk out like the world's craziest ideas and then say, oh, wait a minute, we can actually build that. So no, this is not what high frequency traders do, but this is the type of discussion where those types of things are figured out, right? So appreciate the question, but I'm going to put that to the side because again, that's not really a data science question. But I'm not trying to teach you guys, financial operations here. We're trying to learn data science operations here, right? Good question. I appreciate the question, but no, it's not. They don't use data science. They're using other approaches. Well, maybe there's some algorithms, but not in the purest sense. Not in the purest sense. They're doing other things. So Osama, scraping and analyzing income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. Yeah, sure, Osama. I mean, you're talking more about the pipelines there, and that's cool. We'll need that. But let's just get some ideas going, right? Let's just talk ideas. Manoj says, yes, it is. Manoj, I think you're referring to my time series question. So House says, train models using historical financial data to predict whether a stock will outperform the market over a given time frame. Yeah, but give me a model name. What model are you proposing? Like I appreciate the idea, but what model do you actually want to put out there? Because like Osama is actually saying, hey, I want to use an ARIMA approach, and that's like a great answer, right? So yeah, I mean, that's we got to be a little bit more specific here, right? Because remember everybody, at this point, we're not writing a client document. We're not writing a presentation or whatnot. We are like, what are the actionable steps that we as scientists are going to take, right? Like we need to start defining and say, all right, you do this, you do this, you do this, right? So, keep that in mind. Okay, so Michael is proposing machine learning for time series like LSTM to predict stock prices, I guess. Okay. So Michael, I love that you're citing an actual approach. So that's great. So again, this is me giving you pushback, right? Or, pushback to kind of help bring out the rationale, right? Why LSTM? I'm not sure that LSTM neural networks are often used for problems like this. I can think of other things that LSTMs are good for, but not usually this. So Michael, I'm not trying to spotlight you or anything, but sometimes I ask those types of things because what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to figure out is like, are you proposing LSTM because you read a recent paper, there was some research that I'm just not familiar with, or is it something that maybe you just thought of that, but you're open to other neural networks? You know what I mean? That's part of the ideation. That's part of us kicking things back and forth and saying, okay, yeah, Michael, I'm kind of on board with that, but tell me more, right? And I'm really just kind of highlighting this for the benefit of everybody else, because again, these are all very healthy processes for us as scientists to go through, right? Super healthy for us to talk about things like this. All right, so let's take a quick summary here, right? So we've got Manoj with the, Manoj, what was it again? Efficient Frontier. So on Manoj with the Efficient Frontier, Monte Carlo based using, stock pricings. We got Fatima proposing like an NLP-based sentiment analysis and its effect on stock performance, right? And then we've got, I think it was Osama who first mentioned ARIMA. Was that you, Osama? Yeah, so Osama says we can look at financial statements using ARIMA, right? So, and it looks like Leo would be on board with that, right? With the time series approach. So those are three approaches that are out there, right? Did I miss any? Right? Let me know if I missed any. Leo says, I think there's a difference between choosing trading algorithms and a model like GARCH just to identify volatility. Those are two different problems. Leo, did I miss a previous statement of yours? I'm sorry, I don't understand the context of that. Are you replying to somebody else or? Sorry, Leo, help me understand that. Okay, then Manoj is saying that they also proposed the Black-Scholes. Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, so we actually have 4 items that have been proposed, guys. Leo says commenting on somebody else. Okay. All right, so we have 4 approaches that are out there. Anybody else? Anybody else want to give an approach, or just say they agree with one or the other, or maybe you want to ask more questions, right? Maybe somebody out there wants Manoj to define what Black-Scholes means to them, right? Or how they see it being used. Right? That could be something. So for me, also as the chief data scientist, I get to also make suggestions, right? So here's where I'm thinking. One of the benefits, one of the needs in alpha farming is that you don't know where it can come from. Therefore, you have to cast a broad net, right? So the power in whatever it is we're going to deliver is in how many uh, possible investments you can look at any given time, the width of what you can look at. And machine learning excels at that, right? Because we're going to teach a machine what to look for, right? The machine learning is perfect for this. So that's my thinking. And you guys know that sometime within the last 2 months, I ran that session on Meta, on Meta's library Profit. It's a forecasting library they have. And it's a super simple library, right? You give it the input has 2 columns, the date and the price. And according to Meta's, papers and research and all that stuff, if you give it enough information about the dates and the price and the seasonality and the frequency, and you give it enough opportunity to cut up the data and look at different time windows and all of that stuff, it's going to be efficient at trying to find those models that fit the data to give you that forecasting for however many periods you want into the future, right? So that's my proposed solution, that we use a lightweight library like Meta, like Profit by Meta. I'm defining lightweight because the data would be very easy to source, right? Because remember, if we say we're going to do time series, now we got to source that for all kinds of different, stock potentials out there, right? So I'm thinking trying to do something lightweight and then focusing on the width of it all, right? So that's my suggestion. So we're going to make that the 5th suggestion that we have. Anybody else want to comment or, support a suggestion, ask questions, right? Again, very healthy for us to challenge each other. So don't be afraid to do that. Or maybe there's a 6th option out there, right? But right now we have 5. So what do you guys think? I'm going to start writing some stories. Okay? What was the last one? Efficient theory, right? No, what was it called? Efficient Frontier, right? All right. House says I actually mentioned profit, but you looked past me. You did? Where? I don't think I saw that. You're on Instagram. Sometimes the chat misses Instagram messages, but I don't think I saw that previously. Manoj says, yes, I'm ready to take it if I'm wrong. Okay, see, Manoj, I appreciate the open attitude. All right, so I added 4 new stories, right? Because these are stories that would basically come out of this meeting. Right? And again, guys, we're still open for feedback, so keep on typing if you guys want to give feedback on some of the proposals so far. But so this first one, so Fatima, this would be your story, right? Because this is me saying, okay, Fatima, I think you might have a viable option on your hands, but we're going to need a lot of news articles, right? Because it feels like for that one, it's going to be 2 models. You're going to need some sort of like a sentiment grading, right? And then apply that grading to wherever the stock is today. And then what did it do on those past gradings, right? So you almost need like 2 predictions or 2 algorithms in one. And that's okay, but we need to make sure we have a reliable news source, right? So like that would be a story that comes out of this. Manoj, this next one would be your story. Surely, I'm guessing, right? There must be a library out there that does the Black-Scholes calculations, right? But now we got to find it, right? We got to verify it exists. We got to verify that we know the inputs, how it works, right? Good examples. So that's your story, Manoj. This one is mine. As a data scientist, I want to find a source of historical stock data, right? According to MetaProfit, I only need the date and the price. So I need to be able to do that. And then Manoj, this would also be yours, right? Again, I've never done Efficient Frontier, but I'm assuming there's a library out there for it. So let's find it. What does it look like, right? So I hope that serves as an example for all of us on how, how the meetings run and what needs to come of them, right? Because, we need to actually start doing things, right? We need to start doing things and start putting all of these things together, right? So I think that we can work through 1, maybe 2 of these stories. Because remember that the underlying approach here is also that we're taking an AI first mindset, right? We're not going to be writing this. AI is going to be writing this. So I'm tempted to, so if we think about like the historical stock data, I know that I got this from Yahoo Finance, right? Yahoo Finance is still a pretty decent source of CSV data for stocks. So I know the manual way for us to do that. But, we could be asking ChatGPT to also be doing that. And as far as things that we can finish today, I think we can also finish Fatima's story about a source of news articles so that we can get sentiment analysis to be run. I think both of those can be done in a single session. So the other ones, I don't think you can, because something tells me that Black-Scholes is going to have a lot of inputs. And this last one, efficient frontier. I'm sure the library exists, but we don't know what inputs it's going to require, right? So I'm a little pessimistic that we can solve that one in a single session. So what do you guys think? Give me your preference. Do you want to go after trying to find the news source, or do you want to try to go finding the historical stock data? I mean, we know where to find it, but we're basically going to ask ChatGPT to automate that process for us, right? To write the script that automates that process for us. What do you guys think? Give me some votes in the chat. We want to go after the stock or after the news articles? Both of them are going to be very similar, because remember what I said earlier about the width, right? Where you want to make sure that you're able to do it for multiple potential investments. So one of the requirements is that we're going to need to remind ChatGPT to work in a loop. We're going to give it a loop of individual stock ticker symbols to look at. And it's going to loop through those and create the data accordingly, right? Because that's part of the win, right? That we can do this for 10 or 10,000 different potential investments, right? So I think that'll be interesting, because both of these solutions are going to have like that same quasi architecture. It's just different sources, right? And different return types of data. But I think it's achievable. I think it's achievable. So what do you guys think? Give me some votes. Give me some votes. And then also one more story I need to include in here. Right? We also need to do a local conda environment, right? That will also become critical, right? So we're going to do that also really, really quickly. Oh, one more thing. Our ID. So we're gonna need both of these. Okay, so Delete is voting for news articles. Anybody else? Anybody else want to vote? The news articles, I hope that we don't run into any licensing issues. It's possible that we might do that. I've had that happen in the past. I have no idea how ChatGPT handles it. Anybody else? Anybody else want to vote? No other votes? Come on, guys. We're either voting for the news articles or the stock data. Like I said, I think they're both similar architectures. You know what? We can probably try to do both. Let's see if we can sneak both in. But yeah, let's just go for it, guys. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna ask ChatGPT to set us up with an environment. All right. Let me know if you need me to zoom anything, okay? And I'm going to use Python 311. Anybody have any objections to that? Yeah, I think we're okay with 311. So that's what we're going to do there. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my terminal. Remember, guys, IDE and terminal, right? No notebooks here. On to create, and we want to call this alpha farming. You know what, guys? We're going to go ahead and do both of these. I'm seeing votes for stock data and for news. Let's just do both. Okay, Python, proceed. Afsal is bringing up a great point. Afsal, news might contain bias. Afsal, I love it. I love that you're thinking ahead. Okay, so remember, guys, we're still in the team meeting, right? We're still discussing. We're still being professional. So Fatima, back to you. The concern has been brought up that news data can be biased. What say you, Fatima? What do you think? Oh, oops. Okay, guys, we have an environment. So we just completed our first story, guys. Congratulations. Okay, so we have this. Let's go back to our employee. Let's see what ChatGPT gives us for this script. And by the way, if you guys want me to change any prompts or something doesn't look right, just let me know, okay? Okay, looks like Y Finance and News API, which is great because Y Finance might be the same one that we're going to use. Yeah, see, it's going to ask us to do an API key. I was trying to avoid that type of stuff. And then it gets us the articles from the company, returns the articles, stock symbol, news API key, and then title, description, URL. Okay. And actually, let me bring this over. This should be a little easier for everybody to read. So I'll leave that up there if anybody wants to comment on it. What do you guys think? Okay, so Fatima, thank you for the reply. We can cross-check multiple sources to get a balanced view and reduce the effect of any single bias. Okay. So Afsal, back to you. I think Fatima gave you a perfectly reasonable reply for your concern. What do you think? Yeah, so guys, by the way, I think that this code is perfectly reasonable, right? I was really trying to avoid having to use an API key. So maybe we won't actually execute this code, but it looks reasonable in terms of what it's going to do. So it's going to use Y Finance, which is something that we're probably going to use for the price also. And it goes out, gets the company name, and then uses that name to do a search here. And then it gives us the last 10 articles. And then those last 10 articles, excuse me, is what's printed out in the output here. So I think that's fairly reasonable. Leo says, I think we discussed before how sentiment analysis can be tricky, but we can give it a try. Tricky in what way, Leo? I mean, if you have a different concern than Absol, let's hear it, right? Totally okay for us to hear it. Let me know what you think. Leo says, why avoid API? Because once you put the API out there, that means other people can see it, right? The API key. So we have to track about which ones we use, and then you have to go back to the site and cancel it, right? So that people who see this in the future, they can't reuse it. It's kind of a pain that way, right? So I think that there's a couple of improvements that we can do on this script. So first of all, it requires you to send in the single ticker symbol as part of the command line call for this script. I don't like that. And what I really want to do also is save this to a CSV, right? Because this script is not our input, right? The result of these scripts will be our inputs into Fatima's algorithm, right? So let's refine our prompt or our code with ChatGPT. List object. Okay. I think that should provide enough guidance for the refinement. Let's see what happens. Okay. Go through these. File name. Yep. Okay. List of stock symbols. That's good. Okay. This looks much better. And it's going to go ahead and save it here at the very end. Save the articles for the stock symbol in stock symbols. It gave us an example of 3, but obviously that can be expanded as much as we need. Saving articles to CSV looks reasonable. Getting news articles seems reasonable except for the API key thing. But yeah, this looks totally reasonable. So I'll tell you what, let's put a pin in this one and let's work on the price collection one, because I think that one we can do without any API keys. It looks like the Y Finance API library does not require an API key. But I think that there's very little reason why this code here wouldn't work as desired. So, everybody okay with that? Or anybody want to pause for feedback there? Leo says mainly bias and for certain assets can be based on speculation. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think to Leo's point, that's going to be one of the problems, right? Like, maybe not necessarily biased news, but when it comes to companies, a lot of the news that are out there are really just opinion pieces, right? Like an analyst wrote it. So I think that's definitely a risk. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'd call that a bias. It's just the nature of the business, right? Like, you know, there's analysts out there who are paid to give their opinions. Like, that's their job, right? So I think that's kind of what you're getting at there, Leo, and I can totally see that. So Fatima, maybe that's something to think to keep in mind, right? That just because it's news and printed doesn't mean like it's like factually based, right? There's still speculation, as Leo says. So something to think about, Fatima. Like, I'm not sure if that's something like we have to tackle today, but you know, just generally speaking, in terms of these like sentiment-based models, which I know are popular and all that, we got to keep that in mind, right? So something to think about, Fatima. And if you ever reply to that, you know, you're welcome to. But you know, I think Leo's making a valid point here. So Afsal says, ultimately, we need to reduce bias. If we can do that, it would be better since it may give us the future trends too. But I always prefer quality data. Yeah, Afsal, I appreciate your view. But here's the thing, right? Like, what's quality when it comes to NLP? Like, literally, like, what's quality? Like, I'm not asking as a rhetorical question. I'm asking, like, literally, like quality of what? Right? So it's kind of like, you know, can you really quantify that? You can attempt to, right? You can attempt to come up with your own quantifying model. But I don't know. It seems like it's a very difficult thing in NLP, right? Like you can define quality data for like structured data, right? For sure. But for NLP, like what's quality? I don't know. Maybe you have a better answer than I do. You know, I'm open for your suggestions on that. But like literally, like what's quality for NLP? I don't know. Does anybody else want to answer that? I mean, just because I don't have the answer doesn't mean that, you know, one doesn't exist, right? But you know, this is great discussion though, guys. I'm really appreciating Leo and Fatima's and Afsal's participation here. Because we should be having this, right? We should be saying, like, hey, I like that idea, but this is my concern. This is how I see it. This has been my life experience. What's your life experience been like, right? Very, very good process here, guys. Good job to everybody for doing that. Okay, so let's see if we can't get to that price data. I like the structure that it used, so let's encourage it to keep using that same structure. Afsal says, well, excuse me, I skipped over. So Leo says, yep. Yeah, so Leo and I were seeing that the same way as far as the news really just being like analyst opinion pieces, right? That's common. Manoj says, agree with Leo and Afsal. Yeah, I mean, look, I think everybody's bringing up good points, and Fatima also, right? But it's good that we're talking this out. Afsal means, yeah, I mean structured data. Yeah, sure. I mean, structured data, you can absolutely have measurement qualities, right? But with NLP, you really can't, right? But having said that, that's also where the alpha lies, right? I mean, Fatima is on the right track in thinking that, kind of thinking outside the box that way, right? Because you're not going to find alpha just by looking at the same data everybody else is looking at, right? You're not going to out-data the world. So, the sentiment analysis is very valid in that regard, right? That there's at least the potential to find something there. Okay, yeah, so just as before. So I think we're ready to run this here. The mean script, let's take a W4, and then the script creates two CSV with 2 columns, date and price. Okay, let's see what it does here. Okay, so it is going to use Y Finance, which is fine. It's going to use pandas. Price data, date close price, save to data, save to CSV. Here's the ticker list. Okay, cool. This one does not require any API keys. So I am optimistic that we can, we actually able to write this one, or run this one, excuse me. Save price data, no data found. Save the data frame. Ticker. Okay. I think this looks good. All right. Coming back to stories, guys. We have a couple of stories that, or one story we need to add. And I want to add it here. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not a story. We need a task. Just so that we can illustrate the writing of tasks, I want to focus on this story because this is basically the story that we're on now, right? We literally just did this with ChatGPT, right? So here's a couple stories we need, or excuse me, a couple of tasks that we need to account for, right? All right. So I think that these 4 tasks encompass what we just did or what we're about to do. We asked ChatGPT the frameworks. It knows why finance, which was my initial, gut feeling, right? We just asked it for a script. We told it to do the list of tickers and saving each one to a file. And then we asked it, and now we're about to do the additional library installs that are needed for the script. And then after this, we'll be ready to execute the script and test the results. So this is a little bit more of a sequential waterfall approach, right? Like this is probably like what you have thought in the past as far as defining project planning. Because it's very much in sequence, they're all dependent on each other, so on and so forth. But I just wanted to pause to do that because it seems like a couple of you maybe needed a couple more examples about tasks, but this is basically what they are, right? So like when your boss asks you, okay, how you coming along on that story? Yeah, here's my tasks and I'm on task 3 of 4, right? That's basically us right now. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and do the installs that we need. So what was it? It was pip install Y Finance and pip install pandas. Totally reasonable requests. Okay, it's already going to do pandas as part of the dependencies. So I'm assuming that when we go to install pandas, it'll tell us it already has it. And that's okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so we are good to go here. There is our script. So Python price collection.py. I don't think we asked for any outputs. Okay, there it goes. Okay, cool. So it did Apple, Google, Microsoft, and it saved it to their own CSVs. So let's go check it. So yeah, so if you'll notice, we now have 3 new files. So let's check out the Microsoft one. Okay. All right, so I'm seeing 2 columns, date and price. 253 lines, which is what? That's a year's worth. That's a year's worth of data, right? There's about 250 business days in a year, right? Roughly. So yeah. So who were my pro meta profit people? There were some people who were pro meta profit, right? What do you guys think? Does this look ready? I mean, some of you were claiming to already know meta profit, right? So what do you think? Do we need anything else? Anybody? Or maybe you remember what we did as far as the previous tutorial that I did on this? What do you guys think? Gosh, we're already at 2 hours. Jeez, thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. But give me some feedback here. What do you guys think about this data set? Nobody? No feedback? All right, well, if I think about the tutorial I did on MetaProfit, and I think about the requirements for MetaProfit, this file fits those requirements. MetaProfit just wants a date timestamp and a price, and that's it. It can work off that. That's one of Profit's biggest claims, right? That it's a very simple set of inputs. There's a lot of hyperparameters you can tune, but this here should be sufficient. More importantly, it's also a data set that we can use for EDA, right? There's only 2 columns, so there's limited EDA possibilities. But this is a perfectly valid data set for EDA, which is one of our next steps, right? Leo says, I don't know about the hour column. We should consider some cleaning. Sure, we can do that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that Profit requires you to do that, right? Or you can handle it like at runtime. But sure, we can also ask ChatGPT to drop it, right? To just give us a date, because we really don't care what time that date happened, right? But overall, I think that this does fit the requirements. The only other part that is kind of doubtful to me, and this is something we'd have to look up, is I can't remember if Profit requires you to send it in reverse order. So the most recent first, and then the last entry is your oldest entry. Right here, our oldest entry is first. So I can't remember if we need to do it, descending by time like that. But that would be my only other item. But really, I mean, that's still kind of looking a little too far ahead, because we haven't done any EDA, right? We still need to do some EDA to kind of see kind of where it's going to land, right? Get a sense for the data. We haven't really done that, right? So that's what we want to do, because if we go back to our methodology, we've successfully identified a way to do data collection, right? We've talked through the ideation state. And excuse me, just to clarify, we've gotten the data collection for at least one idea. Or Manoj, if you're still online, that's another question for you, right? The data set, could this data set that's up on the screen, could this data set be used for the efficient frontier items you were talking about? Is this enough? Maybe, maybe not, right? I could see how this would be enough for some Monte Carlo approaches, maybe. Right? Okay, Manoj saying yes. So there we go. We can get double duty out of the same data collection effort. That's great, right? So I think that we're on a viable track here, right? We're on a viable track to get some of these items. Now, I don't want to overlook Fatima's idea, because I still think it's a fundamentally interesting idea. We should definitely explore it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine that script offline, on my own time, and then I'll have those CSVs ready for us the next time we meet. Because again, I want to do that off screen. I don't want to risk showing any of my personal information. But I think that right now we potentially have 3 models, right? We have 2 data pipelines and 3 models, because one of those pipelines, this one, can be used for 2 models. So Manoj, you're saying the same library is used to perform efficient frontier technique? Is that what, so you're saying that's what MetaProfit uses? Is that what it was? It might have been. Help me understand it, Manoj. Are you saying that MetaProfit uses efficient frontier? But look, either way, it sounds like we're Y Finance. Okay, gotcha, Manoj. Gotcha. Okay, got it. But it sounds like we're on our way here for 3 different models, which is great, right? We should have parallel tracks like that. We should have parallel tracks where we can go back to the client and say, hey, look, this is what we're looking at. This is the champion approach. This is why we're recommending it, right? So I think we're on the right track here. So because we don't have that second pipeline fully built out, I really want to do that offline. I think that this is going to make a natural stopping point for all of us, because I want to pick it up here next week. So next week, we're going to have additional data sets, and we're also going to have, we're going to pick up with EDA, right? We're going to use our employee ChatGPT to help us conduct some EDA on the data. Maybe also do some visualizations, right? And then we're going to start seeing, the modeling side, right? So we can use Y Finance, we can use Profit, and then we can also start, I'm sure there's sentiment analysis libraries out there, right? We can start looking at those too. So I want to stop here. We'll call this our data collection, our data pipelines portion, and our ideation. I think all of you did a really great job in coming up with ideas and supporting each other, challenging each other. You're going to go through this, right? So it's really important for us to be able to do it here in this type of environment. So sincerely appreciate everyone that participated in that, because I feel really passionate about that, because that's where this is all a science, right? Nobody really knows what the answer is, so we got to work things out. We got to talk things out. Okay? All right, guys. So any final notes or any final questions anybody wants to ask before we wrap up? Otherwise, I think, this was a great session. Really appreciate all of you. It's fun to step through the methodology, right? To me, it's fun to be able to teach this and to be able to keep on supporting this, because I can't tell you how important this is in keeping like data science pure, and keeping it like as a professional study, right? Because we're not just chasing libraries, chasing data. We're trying to take it from a from a place where we're applying our own knowledge, our own theories, our own like like an investment hypothesis, and trying to make it come true or not, right? So any final thoughts anybody wants to share, or any questions before we close out? Well, we went 2 hours, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. 2:15 actually. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. All right, last call. Ah, Manoj. Oh, Manoj, thank you for the reminder. Yes, once again, happy birthday, Leo. Yeah, Leo, thanks so much for joining us on your birthday. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate all your participation also. All right, everybody. So as always, really appreciate all of you. Please take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll see you guys next time.